So Star Trek Picard, one of the weirdest Star Trek things, at least I've ever watched.
It worked.
I really, for the most part, enjoyed third season, and I think it's almost wild how much improved the third season is over the first two seasons.
I just knew that if I guided you right, set you straight, you'd circle around eventually.
Part of the problem is you can't just jump into the third season. It's not a complete reboot. It's just sort of a soft reboot. But there's still characters that show up and sort of plot points where you really need to know what happened in the first two seasons.
Welcome to the very end of the road not taken.
I decided to take it upon myself to try to create a maybe movie-ish thing. Was the sort of original intent for just catching people up, like what was the the absolute essential plot moments of the first two seasons. And man, oh man, this ended up being the most frustrating fan edit project I've ever taken on. Part of that is because I started it while the third season was still going on, so there's still sort of plot elements unfolding, and it really altered the course of my edit.
That's unexpected and most unfortunate.
The real purpose of doing this fan edit was to sort of show people, if you jumped into season 3, you would wonder, how does Picard know 7 of 9? That's not something that ever was shown in any of the movies or Next Generation or Voyager for that matter.
You owe me a ship, Picard.
They have some great scenes together in the show, and that's kind of a recurring theme. Is there's some great scenes, there's some great moments, there's some great bits of plot, and then a whole lot of messiness and bad that could certainly be left on a cutting room floor.
I just want to talk.
There isn't anything you could say that I want to hear.
Raffi is a character that returns in season 3, and you would wonder, who is this person? Why do I care about them? Where did they come from? Why is this person getting so much sort of prominent screen time in the third season? And without seeing season 1 or 2, you'd have no context for that.
I would be honored to have you join me.
Oh no, I'm not joining you. Never again.
I think there are some great moments in seasons 1 and 2 of Picard that are worth holding on to, worth being able to watch and enjoy, just maybe not committing to 20 hours of your life to get there. There's some great pieces sort of Picard dealing with the loss of Data, and Data no longer being in his life, and sort of a farewell to Data, so to speak.
I don't want the game to end.
Hugh makes an appearance in the second season, and I've sort of tried to weave his narrative a little bit throughout my entire project. Make him sort of a background piece of season 1, so to speak, although I sort of mix the two seasons together. And there's just some great Picard Q interactions that, for so anyone who's a big Next Generation fan wants to see what a older Picard and a, so to speak, older Q going at it looks like. It's fun.
I have had enough of your stupid patronizing.
And I've had enough of your obstinance, your stubbornness.
Despite the second season really being even more of a mess than the first season, those parts were worth still being able to enjoy. So we're gonna get a little spoilery here. We'll start maybe with just the first two seasons. For anybody who's seen it, don't worry. But if you want to sort of experience something, maybe pause here and go appreciate it. Go appreciate the fan edit.
Engage.
And this is going to get into spoilers for season 3. So if you haven't seen that, then maybe definitely jump out here. My original intent with this edit was actually to cut out a lot of plot things that I just felt were very silly and nonsensical. The main one being Picard is now a synth, at the end of season 1. And at the time, I even felt like, oh, maybe this is, we could do something with this. Picard has already been a Borg and is sort of been dealing with that for years and throughout, First Contact and in, season 1. It's a big sort of point of trauma for him. And for him to now be in a synth body, maybe that affects his relationship with other, former synthetic beings or current synthetic beings or former Borg or things like that. And unfortunately, season 2 does absolutely nothing with that in particular, other than that, hey, Picard can survive getting hit by a car. I really had hoped that season 3 would sort of just ignore that. And then they very much didn't. And it wasn't clear right away, but in the last half or the last third of season 3, that becomes actually a very essential plot point, that he is in the synth body and that his real body is being kept somewhere else. And so that very much changed some of my plans. Season 3 sort of retconned the Hugh death, and in some ways the Data death, which I felt were not necessarily positive choices. I understand everybody wanted Brent Spiner probably to be part of season 3, being that it is a giant TNG reunion. I just feel like it really diminishes Data's sacrifice at the end of Nemesis. And I feel like anytime we have Brent Spiner playing a character that's not Data, it just ends up being too much.
See? Right there. Crackpot talk.
This was at least, I think, better than a lot of the sort of Soong relatives. Could have been better, but it also could have, I feel like, been a lot worse. The sort of post-credits Q return, I did not love, just because, again, what does it matter if a character dies or sacrifices themselves or anything if they're just going to kind of show up again? And we'll see what they do. There's supposed to be a sort of Star Trek legacy show that may have Jack Crusher and 709 or whoever else they decide to sort of carry through with that show. And so is Q going to be a significant element of that? To be seen. Again, though, I just think it takes away from like the only good part of season 2 of Picard, which was Q and Jean-Luc Picard's goodbye scene.
Even gods have favorites, Jean-Luc, and you've always been one of mine.
Again, overall, I mean, just a huge jump in quality, much more enjoyable. I do sort of wish they had leaned a little more into, Deep Space Nine clearly was sort of a very heavy background element. You've got changelings, you've got, potential Dominion piece of it. They even have an episode titled Dominion. Worf has a sort of DS9 crossover. I feel like we could have had more, and that would have been really cool. And then it sort of ended up being like, well, and it's the Borg, in the last couple episodes, which really is what Picard, every season there was something with the Borg. So I guess should have seen that coming. But I think it's worth watching just to see the TNG crew get back together. And my hope is that my edit can sort of provide that just enough info that you could watch season 3 and appreciate it. I've already heard there's some fan edits that have come out of season 3 that even tighten it up a little bit, which is probably beneficial. Otherwise, really just hope people enjoy the video. Every seems like a couple times a year, I'll get a fan edit out there. Subscribe if you want to keep seeing more. Definitely got a couple projects in the pipeline that may come out later this year.